Well, thank you, Joed, for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm Christine Valters Paintner. I am the online abbess at Abbey of the Arts, which is a virtual monastery and a global community. We're very delighted that it stretches from the US to Ireland, where I live, to the Philippines, where you are. And we focus on the monastic and contemplative traditions, primarily the Celtic, Benedictine, and desert traditions from the Christian mystical traditions. So that's mainly what we do. And we offer programs, retreats, and prayer podcasts and book clubs and things like that. The word is sit in the wild silence. Sit in the wild silence. I've been having a lot of health challenges the last few months, and I've been spending a lot of time horizontally, as I like to say, as opposed to vertically, which is what our culture likes to have us do. And I'm an appreciator of the horizontal and of the dream time and that liminal space. But I know there was one particular day when I was sort of sitting in bed with my dog, my little canine companion, and I was looking out the window, and I'd had a dream, and I was trying to I noticed I was trying to figure it out in my mind. What could this be about? What could this message be? And this just essentially a voice in my head said, sit in the wild silence. And it was this sense of don't don't try to figure this out. Really, as we've been talking about a lot, let yourself surrender to the moment, to trust in the stillness, to trust in the silence that surrounds you, to let this time of rest and healing be a gift and not a time that you have to make something of it. Essentially, it has continued to repeat itself like a little line that just every so often I'll be in a space and I hear it again, sit in the wild silence. It arose out of this commitment that I have these days to really offer my body a lot of grace and nourishment and rest. This sense, first of all, that there's this real invitation to not try to figure out either what's happening to me or what's even just different ideas that are coming to me. I'm someone also who gets a lot of creative ideas when I move into the quiet. And so it was sort of a reminder to just even to empty that out for the time being, to sit in that wild silence. And for me, the wild part of the silence is, I think about the desert monks who go out into the wilderness, and the wilderness is the place that's untamed and beyond our figuring things out, beyond our grasping, beyond our expectations. And it's really this, for me, the kind of wild silence is really the voice of the divine who calls me into a space that's beyond the reaches of what my rational thinking mind that wants to figure everything out and plan everything ahead, which I'm very good at. But it asks me to let that go. And so I picture that wild silence as, I actually have two images. One is sort of the inward journey. So, in the Christian tradition, we have this image of going into the cave of the heart or the interior desert or the inner sanctuary. And so there's this sense of, retreating into that quiet and withdrawing the senses from the world so that you have that space simply to turn inward and connect to the sacred that way. But the wild silence for me is also about looking outward, especially in wild places. I think of, I can see the sea from my window, and or I picture sitting in a meadow or being in the forest and simply sitting and gazing and beholding. And I might not even be in those places, but I can bring that to mind. So part of the wildness is the actual kind of wildness of creation as well, because there's a particular voice that's very much about that untamed nature, that sort of bringing possibilities that I can't think up myself, and simply just resting in that expanse of quiet. I tend to be quite visionary in my imagining,
Yeah.
and in my dreaming, I
Yeah.
tend to visions come to me, and I always appreciate that. But yes, it's, I feel like at least my whole adult life has been about going to sit in the wild silence, but somehow hearing that particular phrase in this space where I am really deepening, midlife is also a big threshold time of really surrendering even more. I think the first half of our lives is very much about building up our work and our career and our, who we are. And then the second half is a lot to do with letting go of anything that doesn't feel absolutely
Yeah.
essential. And so the wild silence is part of that process of listening for what is actually essential. And I may be surprised, likely will be surprised by what I hear in that space. I read a lot of books, and this year I have a new poetry collection that came out in the spring called Love Holds You, which is about finding the ground of love beneath our feet when life feels uncertain. And I have a book in August coming out called The Love of Thousands, which is about honoring angels, saints, and ancestors. And I'm very excited about that. It sort of builds on many years of work, and will be offering a lot of programs in connection with that work, and learning how to open to the support of the angels, saints, and ancestors in our lives. So I hope some of you will join us.